This is a Saberforge Vengeance lightsaber hilt. It's an XR Kun style lightsaber hilt. And the version I have here is weathered. So the weathered version of Saberforge hilts kind of has these black rings throughout the saber hilt. And the standard version of this hilt would be pretty much the same. It's just it would be a metallic silver color here instead. So this is an empty hilt, you guys, which Saberforge calls initiateur. That's their terminology for it. And let's kind of take a closer look. So this hilt, from the longest part of the hilt rather, is 11.5 inches long. So from the very top of the emitter to the bottom. If you go to kind of the shorter part of the emitter to the bottom, that's about 10 inches. So a little difference there. It's about 1.5 inches in diameter. So kind of a nice size for a lightsaber hilt, pretty standard size. You know, not really too large, not too small. Anyway, probably my favorite part of this specific hilt design, you guys, is the windows at the top. They're pretty neat. So we have one large window, large vertical window at the top of the emitter. And then on the sides, on either side, we have three kind of smaller slits. And Saberforge calls these shark gill windows. So that's kind of a neat term that they came up with. And they're kind of a horizontal window instead. And that series of them is kind of neat. So again, kind of my favorite part. You have a blade retention screw here, and then you have a few different sort of grip areas. You have kind of the top grip area here and bottom grip area here. These are made out of metal, so they're not plastic or rubber like some grips like this can be. Then in the middle right here, we have two dummy switches. So Saberforge installs dummy switches on their empty hilts by default. And it's nice if you want to display the hilt because then you don't have to change anything really to display it. But if you do want to do your own install on the hilt, you'll have to get rid of these and they are glued in. So at any rate, little disclaimer there. It is kind of neat that there's so many really, I don't know, vertical lines to this saber hilt. I like that style. You have, you know, the vertical lines here, here, and here, but then you have these kind of complementary horizontal lines of the windows in the emitter at the top. So it's kind of a nice contrast. At any rate, moving down to the bottom of the saber, we have the cover tech wheel, which is standard with most Saberforge lightsaber hilts, and finally the pommel. The pommel is a very kind of slim design pommel. It's vented, but I was originally having a little bit of trouble kind of removing it, but it's not really a problem now. It's just you don't have much really to grip on, so like if this gets stuck, it might be a little tricky to remove. But I don't know, it wasn't too bad more recently. This is a two-piece hilt, so you just have this whole body to the hilt and then the pommel on the bottom. So I think that's pretty much it, you guys. This is the Saberforge Vengeance. It's an XR Kun style lightsaber hilt. It's pretty cool. There's the inside if you want to see nothing. At any rate, it has been discontinued though, unfortunately. So Saberforge first launched this model in 2015, and they discontinued it now this year in 2018. So that's a final thought. You may be able to find it, you know, on eBay or in other secondary markets though. So I don't know. Look for that if you're interested.